Hello, everybody. Nobody is on quite yet. This is my very first live stream, so this will be interesting. We'll see who comes and who doesn't come. I might edit this down before things get going too far. I guess what I could do is talk about some of the things that are coming down the hopper with respect to some things I want to do with the channel. I had this idea yesterday where I got this microphone for these like side gig trainings I've been doing. I got some feedback that my uh, um, microphone's kind of echoey in here. It still I think sounds a smidge echoey, but pretty echoey. And so I got this USB microphone, and I realized that I could do voiceover stuff on the screen. So it's something I'm working on doing. Hey, Mark, how's it going? I'm just yammering at the camera because you're the first person in here. Just talking about some ideas about some channel stuff I've got going on. How you doing? Well, anyway, if you pop in, say hi, tell me how you're doing, tell me where you're from. If you have any questions, it sounds like Sierra Astrology is hot. And great. Good to hear you, Mark. Good to see that you're doing great. So this might be clunky at first because I've never done this live. You normally get an edited version of me, but you get to see unfettered Sean today. Lone Pine. Oh, very cool. That's near Bishop, isn't it? In that general vicinity? Am I wrong about that? Maybe Independence? Somewhere off 395, I think. But anyway, welcome. So what I was kind of, oh, hey, Luke. Oh, AG, you're just down the road from me. Very cool. So something I'm working on, I was kind of rambling. I'll probably just edit it. I'm going to post this whole thing later. I'll edit out my rambling beginning when I was just talking to myself. But something I'm working on right now for the channel is these little side trainings I've been doing outside of work. I bought a new microphone for the laptop because it was so echoey in this room. And this is really the best place I have to do this other work. It's the MCC at my job. I don't have a lot of good locations to do this stuff outside of my lunch breaks, off time, and all that. So I got this microphone, and it gave me a really good idea that I can actually do voiceovers for narrating and taking you through my computer screen. So what I've decided to do, among all the different series I've dreamt up for this channel, is to go through each state. I'm start with California because it's easy what I know, and I'll do a screen share and a narration. I'll start with in the case of California, I'll start with the state water board's website, and I'm going to take you through how to get certified, and then we'll hop over to like Sac State Office Water Program, and I'll literally do a navigation from start to finish on how to get certified, get your education, get all those things, and I'll do it for all 50 states. Now that's going to take a long time. I'll have to do some research. I found that a lot of these, I'm answering a lot of individual questions about this stuff in the comments and people that email me and stuff. And so I'm just think it'd be good to have that set up on the channel where I can just send links to people and they can, or you can send it to your staff or prospective folks. So I see Vincent. Hello, just got my level 3 operator in Mass. Oh, good for you. And going for level 5 next. Congrats, Vincent. I appreciate you chiming in. So do we have any questions out there? Anything anybody wants to talk about? It's kind of my idea for the channel, and I've got some great new stuff coming up that I want to share with you, but this is a Q&A after all. We're not here to just hear me talk. So if you have any questions, process, career, exam, like what to expect, things like that, just please pop in the comment box. And I can see everybody's chat. So other things that I've got coming. Oh, good. I'm so happy to hear that. That gets me going. I got to be honest, guys. Vincent said that the videos here helped. I got a lot going on. I got a family. We have a lot of things going on outside of work. We have some acreage, and we're trying to do some stuff like growing food, and we've got chickens and all these things. And I have my full-time job, and I have all this other stuff. And I've decided to do this YouTube channel because I guess I'm crazy. And it's sometimes I think to myself, I don't want to do it this week. I don't want to put a video out. And then I get something like that from Vincent, or somebody will comment that they passed or whatever. And it gives me a boost. So, and it really helps. So if you're getting value out of this stuff, it does help me keep going, because it is, it's not a ton of work. I've figured out the nuts and bolts of how to do a YouTube channel. It's actually not that difficult with the technology we have today, but it is time. You got to invest time. And when I do these videos like the wastewater whiteboard, and when I do process control stuff, even though I have a strong baseline knowledge and I'm doing a lot of this stuff anyways, or I'm doing it in my past, I still go back and I double check all of my facts. I don't want to be putting out, incorrect information into the world on YouTube, and, where a lot of people come to get solid information. So there's a little bit of a time investment that goes in there as well. So thank you, Vincent. That really definitely gives me a boost. So, and if you have a question, I'm just going to keep talking, but if you've got a question or something to add, please put it in the comments, the live chat over here. Noob operator from Hawaii, Maloha. For your knowledge, I'll be referring to this channel quite often. Oh, thank you, Patrick. I appreciate that. So are you newly certified, or are you trying to break in out there in Hawaii? I'll give him a second to respond. Something that's coming down the line. You may have noticed an absence of activated sludge. Well, maybe you didn't, but I've noticed an absence of activated sludge stuff. Videos on my channel. It's because once I pull the thread on that quilt, it's going to be a long series, and I've been kind of pushing it off a little bit. And it's coming. It's like once I dive in, it's gonna be a lot of activated sludge videos. And so let's see, we've got 1 year in, planning on a grade 1. Okay, great, good job, Patrick. Yeah. And if you guys ever have any videos you want done, or if you have clarification questions, please put it in the comments. What are the basic steps to become an OIT in California? Now, so I got a lot of Canadian viewers too. You're talking Ant50. You're talking about California, right? Not Canada. I'll give him a sec. And Mark says, operator New Jersey. Yes, California. Okay. Operator New Jersey, working in Public Works and have the opportunity to get the water department. Awesome, Mark. Yeah. Public Works is a great feeder. I was the Public Works supervisor of a town way north in and it's called Mount Shasta, way north in California. And Public Works was, it was kind of the greater umbrella, and the streets guys would often try to jump over to water. Yes, California, Ant50. So, the way to become an OIT, yeah, you can. The video will be really I think it'll be really helpful for you, Ant. But I'll give you the basic steps to become an OIT in California. You need your education. I think I responded to your comment today, actually, on that video. Follow that link, get volume 1, do all 3 of those classes. There's an A, B, and a C. Do them, get your certificate. That's your education credit. When you apply for an OIT job somewhere, you should let them know you've got your education done. All right. Because that is required when the chief plant operator signs off on your application. You have to submit your education. So have that in hand. So I would also recommend you pass your grade 1, but that takes time. I mean, it feels like I'm waiting forever for them to get through my grade 5 application. Everything moves really slow at operator certification these days. So, but if you have that education and a chief plant operator hires you, signs off on your duty statement, they have to make a whole duty statement for you. They sign your application, and then you submit it to operator certification. They will then process it. So you cannot be an OIT in California without a duty statement and a chief plant operator signing off on it. That has got to happen. Now, whether that's volunteer or that's paid, either way is fine. But it's not like some other areas of the country or world. I think in Canada, you can just go get the certification. I'm not sure about that, but I'm kind of gleaning that from some stuff I've seen out there, that you can get your OIT, but you're not yet working at a plant. So it's a little different, I think. Sierra, we have a pond system in Lone Pine. How is the dissolved oxygen and pH measured? I notice the operator logs it every month. Curious on the process. Yeah. So there's sensors. You could either have online. I've worked in a facultative pond where we had online pH and DO sensors. We had some Hawk units, and they just sit in the water and they're constantly measuring. Like every couple seconds, they'll take a measurement, and it just uses the dissolved oxygen uses a light spectrum to detect it, and the pH uses voltage, millivolts, and it just uses a 4 to 20 signal. It goes to a data logger, and it's pretty simple. But if you aren't that sophisticated, they would take grabs at wherever, there's right and wrong places to take these grabs, and if they really wanted to be super on it, they would probably get in a boat and take it from several locations in the pond. But you could also just go with a dipper stick to a safe location on the side of the pond, and maybe go in separate areas to get a good representative sample. So yeah, and then you would just do a handheld. There's handheld dissolved oxygen sensors, and there's handheld pH. pH is more common to have handheld. I've used the handheld dissolved oxygen, but it's kind of like DO goes away really fast. So it's not something you're going to transport to a lab. You're typically going to want that in the medium and like measure it right away. And if you're not measuring it in the pond, you're going to grab it and take it to your lab like on site and measure it right away. DO dissipates in certain mediums pretty fast. Brendan, hope that answers your question, Sierra. Yep. Brendan, just wrote my waste treatment 1 in Ontario. You've rated us up. Oh, great. Good job. Now, Brendan, with the, I'll answer that in a second, Patrick. Mine's actually quite a bit lower than yours, Patrick, but let me, it was probably why I'm able to even do a YouTube channel, but let me answer Brendan's question first. So when you did your waste treatment 1 in Ontario, I'm glad the videos helped. Was I correct, Brendan, that the OIT, you get your OIT certificate in Canada separate from a job? Is that a thing? I'm just curious. And Patrick, we're a really small plant. We're a small CSD, and I've only ever worked for small plants. I think the biggest plant I've ever worked in was 3 MGD. This one, if I needed to get up on it and push, which I've done recently, we're probably talking 350,000 gallons. It's not a huge plant, but it's very complicated. I've got multiple processes, lots of pumps, lots of bells and whistles that like to break. So it's a bit of a job, and I do the drinking water side. So I'm pretty I wear a lot of hats. I kind of joke sometimes that I'm the chief plant operator, the lead mechanic, the chief water operator, and the janitor, because I have to chase this thing and that thing. It's a small plant, and not huge flows, but it's cool. I love it here. And I would argue actually that if I worked in like 100 MGD plant, I don't know if they'd be too hot on me doing a video of all this. Like that was when I talked to my boss about this whole idea of doing this, I told him, I was like, this is I'm kind of in a unique situation. Like I worked for contract operators. I worked for cities. I was in management for the state. Like I've got this weird resume that's kind of spackled all over the place. And I'm a self-proclaimed nerd when it comes to biology and all that stuff. And so I went to Brad, his name's Brad, and I was like, hey, I got this idea for a YouTube channel. And his whole thing was like, I think it would be great for the industry. You know how to pass the tests. You're good at what you do. The one condition is, don't do it on the clock. And fair enough, so that was kind of the genesis of it. It was kind of a thought. And I've reflected on where the channel's come since I started it. And I don't think I could work for a certain size plant running around with a GoPro on my hat and tearing pumps apart or jumping on the trickling filter deck. I think there's a lot of bigger plants that would rather that not be advertised on YouTube. And what's really cool about this plant is it's gritty, it's small, but it's gritty. And we got like all sorts of different stuff that could go wrong. So it's honestly the perfect situation for a YouTube channel. Okay, so, thank you, Patrick. That's very kind. Yes, anyone can just write the test and get the OIT license. I got mine through a program in college. Okay, cool. So in Canada, they can do the OIT, but in California, you got to have that chief operator to sign off on it. Ant 50, do you work by yourself or with a team? 90% of the time, I'm by myself. 85 to 90% of the time, I'm by myself. I did a lot of work last year. It makes it sound like I did it all. I worked with programmers. We were collaborative. We put in some controllers, some ORPs, some other things that we automated a lot of the plant that was not needing to be automated. So I was always backed up by contractors, contract operators. We've got a really good working relationship. Actually, one of them, I'm waiting for him to give me the green light, the thumbs up to post the video. We just did a collaborative video a couple weeks ago at one of his plants. He's a grade 3. He's a 3 across the board, grade 3 wastewater, D3, T3. And he actually owns a contract operations business. And so what we did like a collaborative thing. He is my main backup, but I've got a couple other friends that are actually started their own companies, and that's who I typically work with. And I'll bring in all sorts of different contractors, but for the most part, I'm here by myself. Yet another reason why this works, because I don't have to worry about people walking into the shot of the video if they don't want to be in it and all that stuff. There is a team, but they're called in as needed. Lagios, for the grade 1 test, do you need to know all the math from the whole Sacramento book, including the whole Appendix A, or in certain areas that are important for the test? I don't have, I've got my Sac State book right here for reference, but this is volume 2. I don't have that appendix memorized. What I will say is you should go look at California Wastewaters. That's a YouTube channel, California Wastewater, grade 1 and 2 playlist. The grade 1 playlist hits the nail right on the head. And I would familiarize yourself with the grade 2 just in case, because what they do is they change these tests around. They're not always the same. So you might find yourself understudied if they decided to up the ante on the grade 1. So what you're mostly looking at on the 1 is, like, for pond math, you're looking at detention time. You're looking at like an F to M ratio and activated sludge. You're looking at like trickling filter. You might get a hydraulic loading rate, that kind of stuff. But with the grade 2, it gets a little bit more involved. The questions are a little trickier, and they word them differently. They put more Easter eggs and smoke screens in there. And then you have to do the MCRT math problem for the grade 2. So what I would recommend is that you go check out California Wastewater's grade 1 and 2 playlist. And when are you taking your test, Lagios? Is it anytime soon? Because if you've got like 2 months, I would like hammer that grade 1 playlist, almost memorize it, and then just familiarize yourself with the grade 2. Don't have to memorize it, but I got to say about his name's Christian. He's out of Sebastopol. Really cool guy from what I can tell. We've only talked online. And he put that grade 3 one together, and I found it on YouTube and some other stuff while I was studying for my 3. And I'm telling you what, he hit the nail right on the head. It was almost like, dang, man, like this is almost verbatim what I ran into, and except the numbers were different. It was really, really good. So if you're looking, and those, so in California, you have the grades 1 through 5, right? You have different in the ABC. It's going to be different. Every state's different. That's why I'm going to start this new series doing the every single state's certification process, so we can kind of iron out what means what is what grade, relative to California, since that's where I'm at. But if you are taking like the grade, from what I can glean, if you're taking the grades 1 and 2 and you're doing a class C, I would if you're taking a class C, I apologize. Go and look at his grades 1 and 2 playlists, because they will that's kind of the difficulty. If you're doing a class B, check out his grade 3 playlist. If you're doing the class A, you would look at his grades 4 and 5 playlist, which I think he actually stopped doing them about halfway through the series, but it was good. It kind of connected some dots. It's really good. So check out California Wastewater's YouTube channel. So I'll stop hammering on that. Trying to figure out on my ABC test in Connecticut class 2, struggling to score better on equipment operation portion part. Okay, so a really good channel is Practical Engineering. You can find some cool stuff on there. Let me think about equipment operation. Are you talking, Danny? Are you talking pumps and motors? Are you talking what exactly are you hurting on in the equipment operation portion? Is it maintenance? Is it how they work? Try to give me a little bit more on that, and I'll see if I can expound a little bit. Derek, I passed my S1 last year. My exam had questions about lagoons and ponds, which my plant doesn't have. Yeah, that's a really common thing. I was asked recently why the pass rate for the grade 3 in California is like less than 40%. It's really bad. And I was asked why that is. There's a few reasons. One of them is a lot of people work in plants that don't have every process. And that's why another reason I started the channel was, hey, if I can kind of put a face to the name, it might help people. So Derek, ponds are coming. I had a really good pond I worked at like 2 years ago, reclaimed water. We had Paul filters. It was really great, but I don't know if I'm going to get access to that one. But there's one right across. We've got kind of our sister agencies right over the hill. They've got a couple facultative ponds. The town I live in has ponds. So I'm getting there, but I can maybe do some whiteboard segments on ponds, but I'm really hoping to do a really full length episode on ponds soon. I'm going to do activated sludge first because I've got it right here. So Raptor, but that's pretty common, Derek, that yeah, there's, nobody has all the processes. Raptor says, hey, I just passed my grade 1. Oh, congratulations on passing your 1. Applying for IT jobs, but have a tough time. Yeah. What should my next test be after wastewater 1? Okay, that depends. So if you're coming to a place like mine, what you had was small flows, you're going to want to focus on drinking water. Okay. Because I am multi-cert. I've got 3 different certifications. I hold a 4 wastewater, a D3 drinking water distribution, and a T2. What you'll find is the small CSDs and the state parks and the trailer parks and these places you'd never think of to work at, they want you to have 3 certs or 2 certs. If you're looking to get into a bigger plant, I would say that it would, you could do, if you're going into a wastewater plant that's like 100 MGD plant or something, or like East Bay Mud or SFPUC or down in LA, they're not going to put you on the drinking water system. You're going to be at the plant full time. So what you might look at doing is getting the CWEA lab tech, like a lab analyst 1 might be a good one, because that shows that you can do lab. There's a lot of lab in those plants. And then the other thing you might get is your commercial driver's license. That's always good to have. I think if you have a class A along with these certs, it's really, really, really good. Yeah, that's just my 2 cents. It depends on what you're looking for. Also, I have no background in mechanics or electrical and feel like I need to learn electricity. Maybe. Any recommendations for learning electrical basics? Find a good mentor like I did, or go to school. You need to learn from an electrician, or you need to I learned from a couple of electricians and self-proclaimed electricians, but I can't recommend that I'm never going to recommend somebody learns electrical from YouTube, because that's a good way to get electrocuted. So I would say if you want to learn more about learning electrical basics, community college or trade school classes are probably the best place, or some sort of vocational program. What type of equipment do you use for dewatering? We don't dewater here, actually. Good question, Patrick. We're so small. We would use a screw press if we dewatered. We digest and we send it to a different location. We ship it off for dewatering, because I bet you if we did this alternatives analysis again, they would change their mind. Somebody before my time determined that it was cheaper to ship the sludge away than to actually have a screw press or a centrifuge. We wouldn't use a belt press here. We would use something smaller at that scale. But now with the way fuel is and fees and taking it to these other plants that do the dewatering for us, it's like, might as well just buy some polymer and let her rip, and get a contract for a rollaway. What about you, Patrick? I'm curious. What do you guys use? Let's see, I believe it's more different scenarios and how to diagnose those issues. If something happens with a clarifier, for example, or a pump motor. Oh, okay. So Danny, your issue there is like troubleshooting the processes. Take a look at like some of my more advanced playlists. Then I kind of get into that a little bit, but I'll see if I can. Danny, find me on LinkedIn if you haven't already. Go to my LinkedIn profile and shoot me a message. Let's talk about that, because I want to see if I can answer your question properly. Let's see. And you say hard to really determine because the state really doesn't tell you what you're getting wrong. No, they don't. It's very frustrating. Very frustrating that you never know. And then Derek says a lot of plants don't have everything. No, they don't. It helps when you have things at your plant. Yes. We don't have a traditional digester in ponds. Yeah, it's just tough like that. Sri, you made it. Nice to see you. I was hoping you'd log on. William Harris. Hi, William. Do you recommend any books or training that helps operators learn to process control? A lot of people at some of the plants I worked at gatekeep info. Metcalf and Eddy, to be honest. Go to the source. That's a primary source. I was talking to the guy who I'll be posting that interview with Todd once I get the green light and he likes the way he sounds and the way it was presented. He and I nerd out on wastewater treatment, and we even talk about it a little bit in the interview. And he said this one day we were talking, and he knows a lot about like FFRs and trickling filters and stuff. And I was like, "Where are you getting this from, man?" And we were like, I was talking about how I was using the Wahlberg manual to study for my 5. And he was like, "What is that? What is that? A study guide?" And I said, "Yeah, it's a study guide." And he goes, "Oh, I read the book. I read the book." And he was trying to figure out who it was. And he goes, "It starts with an M." And I was like, "Metcalf and Eddy?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I goes, "Those are like the engineers that like wrote the actual book, like that Sac State and WEF and all these things are based off of." So if you really want to know process control, check out Metcalf and Eddy, because that's really where it all comes from. But I would also say, if you want a condensed version of that, Wahlberg's really good. I think Wahlberg goes a little off the rails sometimes. No offense, he's brilliant. I'm not being critical. I'm just saying I think sometimes he goes a little off the rails on tangents that we're like, okay, well, I don't know if we really need to know about that, but let's just stick to the science instead of opinions. But he does kind of do that. But his stuff is just brilliant. He's a really brilliant man. Do you think getting the wastewater treatment plant operator specialist certificate through Sac State is worth getting? It's about $2,800 for all 3 courses. I never did it. Somebody else answer that, because I wouldn't want to recommend that per se, but it could really help you, and it couldn't. I've known people that have gone through it and it didn't work out, and I've known people that that have done it and it's been really good for them. The one thing I'll say is it'll knock out all your education you need for all of the tests you'll take for the most part, I think. So there's some real value there, and it is good education. But just kind of I don't know. Ask multiple people that question, not just me, because I'm going to be kind of iffy on that one. It's there, it's valuable, but yeah. Centrifuges. Oh, cool. Yeah. I love centrifuges. That's great. And Danny says, "Okay, thanks." Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Or only the courses you recommend is enough. Yeah, it is enough. But I have, I don't have a college degree, and I sometimes get asked by degree, holders, "Where'd you go to school?" And I go, "The School of Hard Knocks." I learned with my arm, $12 an hour in a lift station wiring up a pump. That's where I learned. I didn't learn in a trade school, and that is a longer route, to be honest. There's a lot of it's just a longer route. You can't see everything right away, but book knowledge is good for baseline. Patrick, dewater about 80K. Oh, nice. Very cool. Sri says, "What are your effluent limits for nitrogen and phosphorus?" We don't have any. We discharge to the ocean. So we do get 96% nitrogen removal, but we don't have to. We have no nitrogen limits or phosphorus limits. And we got phosphorus reduction too on accident. I mean, it's not like I was trying to do it. The MBR is a really cool tool. We're working on our discharge permit right now for indirect potable reuse. The golf course is right over on this other side of the hedge here, and we're going to connect to them and send them MBR effluent for we're going to put in a UV skid, and you better believe I'm going to be making videos about that when the time comes. We're just still in the permitting stage. I bet you then, Sri, we're going to have a nitrogen limit. But no phosphorus, and I'm kind of surprised about that. And Sri says, "You maintain your secondary treatment by MLSS control or SRT?" MLSS and F to M, not SRT. I ran one just because somebody asked me what my MCRT was. A Cal Poly kid or engineering student. He wasn't a kid. He was, engineering student came through and asked, and I was like, "I don't do that." And he said, "Well, I need it for my paper." So I ran it, and it was 17 days, which tracks. I mean, I run my target MLSS is about 8,000. And that all kind of works itself out. That's my sweet spot, Sri. William Wahlberg helped me pass my 5, but I'm interested in his process control book. I actually haven't read it. I've just done the study book. But from what I can tell, I was actually talking to the deputy director of Wastewater over at City of San Luis Obispo not too long ago. He's met Eric Wahlberg a few times, and he couldn't say enough good things about him. So, William, if you're really interested, I would take a look at that. Silver the Fish, would you ever do a podcast or something similar? Listen to Water Seafood nonstop to pass on my water treatment exams over 10 years. I have thought about that. Yeah. So the reason I didn't start with a podcast was because of, I think with what we're doing here and just the value behind me in this plant of all the cool things that are going on, visual was better. But I have thought about those videos, like my talking head where I'm standing up at the water tanks on the, with the mountains behind me talking about this thing or that thing, about your exam and your career development. I've thought about just converting those to podcasts. And now this new series I'm doing where I'm going to be interviewing other operators, that also will be probably something I will put into a podcast. So anyway, let's see. But yeah, good question. Derek A, do you guys think a big problem with wastewater plants is it's always been this way? Yeah, Derek, you just struck a chord, my friend, because that is probably the single most infuriating thing I've ever heard in my life. Is it's always been that way. This very plant, before I was chief operator, I was a shift operator here 3 years ago, and I got a couple of responses of, well, that's how we were doing it, and it's like, that's not good, because what's happened here is you have not. It tells me you don't actually understand why we're doing it. If we do anything, we should be able to explain why we do it. I get a lot of engineers. There's tours that come through this plant, and I'm always explaining why we're doing it. It keeps me on my toes. I get a lot of very creative questions, but you shouldn't. If you find yourself saying, well, that's always how it's been, I think you should actually question the process a little bit. Let's see here. I did 14 weeks. Sorry if I got a little soapboxy there. And no offense to that person. He's a wonderful person, the guy who said that to me at this plant. I have nothing but respect for him, but that really is a pet peeve of mine. Vincent, I did 14 weeks community college and it was free. Oh, wow. Good for you. Textbook and all. Maybe your state offers a similar program. Where are you, Vincent? I missed that one. I got a lot of things I'm reading here. That's really cool that your community college did that for free. Put that in the chat box for people that are in your state. They might be able to take advantage of that. I don't think our state does that. Massachusetts. Okay. Yeah, that sounds like something Massachusetts would do. I have a few friends from Massachusetts. Let's see. What does ABC mean? The ABC, Lagios, ABC is what several states use. It's a standard. I think Canada uses it too. California and some other states they don't use it. They have their own system. I am in favor of standardizing the entire thing nationwide because it makes it a lot easier. But that's all that means, Lagios. If you're in California, don't worry about ABC testing. William Hara, see, that's what trips me up. He says you should control the activated sludge process with MCRT. Yeah, I guess. I don't. And to be honest, William, there's some stuff in Wahlberg's stuff. And if he ever watches this video, I want him to know I respect him with the utmost respect. But some constructive feedback is, if it's not his way, it's the highway. And I don't think that's a good way to live life, personally. He has some very strong opinions in this book that I'm reading that make me kind of go, well, I mean, everything's nuanced. If you ever listen to my lessons, you'll often hear me say typically or usually, because I've worked in enough plants at this point to know that there's going to be something that there's always an exception to the rule. But no, I don't use MCRT to manage my biomass. I use MLSS and I use F to M. And really, honestly, though, William, when we get into activated sludge, and you'll see, this because you're grade 5. But others who are listening, when you get into activated sludge, like when you increase your wasting rate, by definition, if nothing, all else being equal, the influent didn't change, nothing changed, your flows didn't change. If you increase your wasting rate, by definition, your MCRT, let me see if I can get this right. I sometimes get it. Your MLVSS goes down, which means your F to M goes up, and your MCRT goes down. There's a whole chart. Yeah. But in essence, when you're messing with your wasting rate, you'll I guess what I'm trying to say is, by definition, when I have an MLSS of 8,000, I'm going to have a higher MCRT of longer days. I'm going to have a lower F to M ratio just by having that amount of MLSS. Again, all things being equal. So in a way, you can say, you can argue that I'm doing it using MCRT without actually doing the calculation. But no, there's a lot of different ways to do process control. You know who's really good at process control is Ron Traeger on Vimeo. If you've not seen any of his stuff, I don't know why I didn't mention this earlier. He's out of Florida. Find him on Vimeo. He's got some amazing activated sludge videos, and they're like an hour long, but they're totally worth it. And that would be something I would, when I was studying for my 4, I was listening to his stuff while I was driving all over the place for a contract operator, and it was great. I got huge downloads off that. So for Awesome Brother, thanks for all you do. Oh, absolutely. There's a serious need for accessible education, especially for newer operators. Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's why I'm doing this. I've often, not often, but sometimes I go, is this really worth it? Do I really want to put out another video? Maybe I'll just stop doing this. But it's when I get the feedback of people saying it helps, that really gets me motivated. So yeah. And then Derek says, all states should use the same testing so we can move to cheaper areas of living. Yeah, no kidding, Derek. Sri, can you please say the name of the person whose videos are on Vimeo? His name is Ron Traeger. I get to use the whiteboard. It's my favorite thing. Ron, spelled Trygar. And he's in the Florida University of Gainesville, something or another, Trios. It stands for something center. Really good stuff. And actually, when I got on Vimeo, I learned this off Reddit. By the way, Reddit's a really good resource. Some people don't say totally correct stuff on there, but for the most part, there's a lot of skilled operators on there. And the Discord, the Wastewater Discord, there are a lot of skilled operators on there waiting to answer your questions. And that's where I found out about Ron Traeger. And some of his videos are hard to find, but once I found his activated sludge, it like linked to all his other ones, and I was able to see him. Ross Pendergrass, taking the grade 4 in Tennessee. Process troubleshooting is my biggest problem. SBR, okay. Are troubleshooting videos an option in your future? Absolutely. Yeah, I try to do the troubleshooting when I have problems. I honestly don't have a lot of problems. I'm pretty on it. My plant's not big enough where things go cattywampus too bad, and when they do, smaller plants are easier to rein in. But yeah, I can do something like that. I just got to think about what process issue you might be having with an SBR, if it's nitrification or what exactly you're doing in the SBR. And is this now, Ross, is this for your plant or is this for a test? Because that would change the vibe of that video I'd be doing. William Harris, for operators trying to pass certification, I also use the Burns manuals and Veridian manuals as well. Awesome. Very good, William. Thank you for putting that in there. The one thing I'm getting, I'm getting a little, I don't know what the word is. I don't know if irked is the word, but like I reached out to Veridian. Was it Veridian that told me no? There was, so it was either Veridian or OCT, one of those outfits. I reached out to him. I had another operator up in Marin offer to give me their book to study for my 5. And I was like, no, I'm not going to, I'll pay for it. And I went to buy it and they said, no, you got to take our class. I don't know if it was Veridian. I think it was. And I was like, well, that's silly. And then I went over and I said, no, I'm not going to take your class. And then I went over to, I think it was OCT or OTC or whatever it was. And theirs were $150 for each manual. And I'm like, this is getting expensive. If I bought the Wahlberg manual, their OTC or whatever it is, their study manual, and then their practice manual, I'm now out $450 on study manuals. And it's like, does it really need to be this way? Maybe we can just, so I got this idea. Maybe if this live stream thing, I get good at it, good enough at it, maybe we can just do I'll do a 4-hour test prep and just say, don't save your money and we'll see if we can do that. I don't know if I'll ever be able to pull that off, but just something I'm thinking about. But yeah, thanks, William, for tossing that out there. Warren, I'm the next guy to go to our wastewater facility and just started to learn. So thank you. Oh, absolutely. I'm happy to help. Nice. Good job, William. You got copies. Very good. Yeah, I try to do the right thing and buy the manuals, but if they say no, then it's a free for all. Fine, I'll take the free stuff. I'll take the pirated version. Ross, troubleshooting things like foam types and floating sludge. It's for my test. Okay, yeah, floating sludge. Okay, general rule, everybody. If you're on a test, if you get a question about foam, white foam is a high F to M startup young sludge. Brown foam is typically going to be a low F to M, or it could be, if it's moussey and they spray it and the water rolls off of it, you're probably dealing with endocardiform, or you're dealing with some kind of filamentous bacteria. Okay. And then floating sludge, you can have bulking, okay, which is caused, there's bulking, which is caused by filamentous activity in your sludge and not allowing it to settle really well in the secondary. And then there's denitrification of happening in the blanket of the sludge blanket. And when that denitrification occurs, it'll float the blanket. And what's going on there is that your detention time is too long. You need to probably either waste more, or the real fix is to get your MLSS in balance. Sometimes the quick fix is to mess with the RAS, but really it's you either need to increase your DO at the end of aeration, or you need to get rid of some of those bugs because they're staying in your sludge blanket might be too high. So I'll get into all that, but right off the top of my head, floating sludge might be denitrification. It might be bulking, but if it's floating, I would say it's probably denitrification in the secondary. Derek, Wastewater Reddit is another community that helped me a lot. That's how I found out about Roy. Yeah, Roy, absolutely, Derek. Roy CEU is great for practice tests. If nothing more, and they've got some great training on there. If nothing more, for like, oh, I didn't think of that. It might not necessarily be on your test, but like it might trigger like, oh, I need to probably go look at, like, study that. That was the story for me when it came to Class B biosolids on my grade 4. I wasn't studying Class A and B biosolids. I was studying, activated sludge and anaerobic digestion, but not on the backside of what would like actually go to composting. And Roy CEU triggered that in my mind, and I went and looked it up. And by golly, there was almost right off the Roy CEU website, what came the actual question, and it had to do with pH and all that stuff. Let me see. A facility will only grow if management is help. It's hard to really advance. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Danny. It's a culture thing. Absolutely. Viridian told me the same thing. Yeah, we talked about in the flock. Vincent, I don't know what that means. In the flock. Oh, in the flock. FLOC. Is that what you mean? Like flock from activated sludge flock? Ross, thank you for doing this. I love your channel. It's helped me study. Appreciate you. Hey, thank you. I'm glad to do it. And I've actually 30 minutes. This is what happens. 42 minutes in, I got to get back to my job. But let's see. Vincent, I do want to answer whatever that was in the flock. Facts about Class B biosolids. I had a question about it on the 5. Yep. Mm-hmm. There you go, William. Thank you for verifying that. I'm going to wait for Vincent will be my last thing. I just want to clarify what he means by in the flock. Massachusetts is the last thing he said, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you mean there, Vincent. But anyway, I'll give you another, let's see, a couple seconds, and then what makes you so passionate about what you do? You seem that's a great question. Probably a good one to end on. So when I got into drinking water treatment, I had a really wonderful mentor. And he really instilled in me the right way to do things. And his enthusiasm rubbed off on me a little bit. But as I again, college dropout, I enjoyed the trades. I was doing some electrical stuff. I was doing this, a little bit of painting and drywall and sheetrock, kind of stuff. Nothing spoke to me like the drinking water treatment volume 1 when I was getting my T2. And I remember the corrosion control really fascinating me. And that was kind of my gateway drug into wastewater treatment, was the drinking water side. And I, through my career, I got really into underground utility. Like, boy, 10 years ago, my Facebook, pictures were me in a trench waist deep during a water break kind of thing, or, cutting the asphalt and I wasn't taking pictures while I was driving the Vector, but, jetting lines. It was just something I really fell in love with. I just took to it. I don't know, quite honestly, what made me passionate about it, but what keeps me passionate about it is this whole world we can't see without a microscope. I transitioned into wastewater treatment, and I honestly, Ant, did not believe the biology was doing anything. Even as a grade 1 operator, I was like, there's no way. This is like all kind of sure. Like, it was hard for me to believe. But as I got more and more into it and really starting to learn about the different kinds of microbiology that is helping us, it really started to become a passion. And then in my personal life, I do regenerative agriculture type stuff with like orcharding and nutrient cycling on my property. We have chickens, and we use the chickens to, the chicken droppings to feed the trees and blah, 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 blah. And that's when I started learning about the food web and soil health and all these things. And I think there was a connection that was made between wastewater treatment on a deep level in my mind, and that passion of mine, which was regenerative agriculture and how it's all connected. And I really do like what I do. I love it. And sometimes you get baptized in sludge, and it happens. And it's easy for me to brush off because I absolutely do love all this. So I guess that's, I don't know, off the cuff, what I would say is what makes me passionate about it. And Danny says, if you're struggling with math, guys, I would suggest looking at American Water College courses. Okay, great. Yeah, I've never taken them, but Danny, that's great. Yeah, look into American Water College courses, Danny says. All right, everybody, I got to go. I'm 15 minutes over, which means I got to stay 15 minutes later here. So thank you so much for joining me. I am going to end this now. If you have any questions, please find me on LinkedIn if you want to communicate with me directly. I sporadically check Reddit. I sporadically check Facebook. I'm just not on those, or Discord. I'm just not on those platforms as much. I'm on LinkedIn. I check my LinkedIn almost every day. It's where my professional network is. And so if you've got questions, that's a good place to find me, or the comments section. So anyway, thank you again. I'm out of here. And have a great day, everybody. Oh, Beaks jumped. Whoa. What you got, Beaks? Also for, okay. I hope you saw my email, Beaks. All right. I'm out of here. Thanks, guys. Oh, and I'm going to publish this too. All right, bye.